Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the People Processes Podcast. I'm your host, Rhamy Alejeal, CEO of People Processes. Summer is coming, and a lot of you are about to hire teenagers. Restaurants, retail, landscaping, pools, camps. If you're a small business owner, you probably hire seasonally for help every year, and you've never thought twice about it. Here's what you may have missed. The fines for getting child labor wrong just hit $16,000 plus per employee, not per incident, just flat out if you do this wrong. And if something goes seriously wrong, a minor gets hurt on the job, the fine jumps to $73,000 plus all of your liability and injury that would normally be there. A couple notes, there are also insurance liability issues where your wage and hour, these sorts of fines are not normally covered by your insurance unless you carry special employment practices liability insurance. So it's a big deal. What catches people off guard, the federal rules, those are just the floor. Your state has its own rules about employment of minors. Different hours allowed, different age limits, different work permits, and in most cases, they're much stricter. So if you're following federal law and ignoring your state, you're out of compliance and you probably don't even know it. So today I want to walk you through the 6 things you need to know before your first summer teenager hire walks in the door. This is the stuff that keeps you legal, keeps kids safe, keeps you from writing a 5-figure check to the Department of Labor. Let's do all of that. All right, so why do good business owners, people who follow every other employment law, get child labor wrong? There's some key reasons. The first is they think it's simple. I worked a summer job when I was a kid. How hard can it be? You just do it. The rules have gotten significantly more complex. Federal law has 17 categories of hazardous occupations, and states then layer on top of that. A common example lets you be like, oh yeah, a kid can't do that. Operating a forklift. Okay, so, all right, you can't operate a forklift, you can't work in a warehouse. How about another one? Working with commercial cooking equipment, like a fryer, at all. They can't fry your fries at the camp. Driving any motor vehicle for work. Using certain power tools. These are all prohibited for minors, and most managers don't know this. The second thing they miss is the state rules. That federal law doesn't cap hours, for example, for 16 and 17-year-olds, but many states do. Federal law doesn't require work permits, but 36 states require you get a piece of paper before you employ a minor, one for each one, called a work permit. So an employer in Texas is operating under very different rules than one in California, New York, or Illinois, and most multi-location businesses have one policy, the federal one. The third thing that comes up that just people don't realize is that the DOL is cracking down. Child labor investigations increased significantly over the last 4 years. Fines have increased over 100% since 2023. It's now $16,035 per violation in 26. This is not a we'll send you a letter situation anymore. The DOL is actively auditing, and the fines are designed to hurt. So let's do the math real quick. You hire 5 teenagers this summer. One manager doesn't know the rules and lets all 5 work past the hour limits. That's an $80,000 fine for something your manager didn't even know was wrong. The cost of getting it right, maybe a couple $100 and 2 hours of planning and training, okay? So how are you going to get it right? Let's go through the 6 steps. This is kind of our framework. Managing HR in-house is overwhelming. That's why we built the People Processes Advisory System. Start with our free HR resource library. Get instant access to policies, guides, and compliance checklists. The templates are just the beginning. Run our Strategic HR Audit to scan all your key domains for your people processes. In just a few hours, we'll work through and identify your compliance gaps, and my team will generate a custom roadmap for you, meet with you, and show you exactly what to fix step by step, ready to execute. Use our toolkit to generate job profiles, deploy policies, track employee documents. You're not alone. You're backed by a 5-star expert team supporting over 10,000 employees nationwide. Be your team's secret weapon. Visit advisor.peopleprocesses.com to start your free account today. I'm going to give you that framework, and we use this when a client tells us they're hiring minors. This covers federal and state, and if you do these 6 steps, you're going to be covered. First one is verify the age and get the work permits. Before the first shift, you got to verify the minor's age. People lie. My very first real grown-up job was for Macy's, and I applied, put it on my application what age I was, and they hired me, and it was my 3rd day of work before the store manager walked down and said, "You're 16?" He didn't realize it. They'd been scheduling me for night shifts. We didn't tell anybody. This was past the statute of limitations, so I'm not going to get any money out of Macy's. But you need a copy of their birth certificate or government ID, right? You need something with their date of birth on it, driver's license, something. Check if your state, the one that the employee's boots are on the ground in, requires a work permit. These are also called employment certificates or age certificates. 36 states require them. If your state requires a work permit and you don't have one on file, that's a violation, period. Before they start, that's 16 grand, okay? 36 states require them. You actually normally get the permit from either the minor's school or the state labor department. Most states, you go on the website and you just type in that you're employing this minor, their age, date of birth, social security number, etc., and boom, you get a permit. It's like immediate. The couple states, you actually have to go through the kid's school. The kid has to get it for you. They say, you give them an offer letter contingent on them getting a permit. They take it to their school. The school issues one. Okay. And you got to keep that permit in the employee's file for the duration of their employment. Step 2, you got to look at your state's hour restriction. Okay. Federal rules for 14 to 15-year-olds. Max 3 hours of work on a school day, 8 hours on a non-school day. Max 18 hours in a school week. So if school's in session, they can't work more than 18 hours. If it's a non-school week, summer, 40 hours. No work before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. There's an interesting exception for June 1 through Labor Day that lets them work to 9 p.m. Okay? So that's the federal side. That's for 14 and 15-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-olds don't have that hour restriction, but that's the trap. Your state almost certainly has an hour restriction for 16 to 17-year-olds. California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, they all limit hours for 16 and 17-year-olds, even though the federal law doesn't, and most states do. Whichever law is more restrictive applies, federal or state. You follow the stricter one. If you're in a state with additional restrictions and you're only following the federal rules, you're in violation for every shift that exceeds that state limit. So that's one, your hours restrictions. Then you want to look at your hazardous occupation orders. The federal DOL, Department of Labor, maintains 17 hazardous occupation orders, categories of work that minors under age 18, period, cannot perform. These are not just the obvious things. Mining, anything with explosives, fireworks, right? Those are on the list. But they also include operating forklifts, working from ladders that are above a couple of feet in height, like I think 4 feet, so they can use a step ladder but not a real ladder. Any commercial cooking equipment, including deep fryers, using any sort of power-driven bakery machines, like a pizza oven, operating motor vehicles as part of the job at all. I've seen restaurant owners shocked to learn that their 17-year-old can't operate the pizza oven, and they've been doing it for summers. Those people are not only is the state going to get you $16,000, if the employee figures it out, you're going to owe them a pile of money. Okay. You got to review every task that the teen's going to perform against that hazardous order list. If it's on the list, they can't do it, no exceptions. And many states have additional prohibited tasks beyond the federal 17. Then you got to set up your scheduling controls. This is what prevents violations. Your timekeeping system needs guardrails. Configure your time clock or scheduling software to flag when a minor is approaching their hour limits and set hard stops. The system shouldn't let a 15-year-old be scheduled past 7 p.m. Most time and attendance platforms have some sort of minor labor modules. Ours does at People Processes, but I'm sure ADP and the rest do. Turn it on. If yours doesn't, set out like calendar alerts. It's really important you not let them work past. And you kind of need to keep a separate schedule tracker for minors. Don't rely on your managers remembering the rules. Speaking of managers, train your managers. This is the most important step, and it's the one most companies mess up on. The manager is the one on the floor. They're the ones who will say, hey, can you stay an extra hour? Or can you go grab something from the storage unit for tonight's shift? Or go pick something up at Costco, we're out of whatever. That's telling them to drive. Every manager who supervises a minor needs to know what hours they can work, what tasks they can't perform, and what equipment they can't operate, and who to call if they're unsure. It's really important. The driving thing comes up all the time, okay? They drove to work. Why can't they drive to the store to pick something up? Why can't they drive over to our storage unit? Why can't they deliver this thing or drop off this bank deposit? That's on the clock time driving. $16,000. Don't do it. The violation happens at the manager level, and the fine is going to wind up on you, the company. All right? It's on the company to make sure the managers do it. And then step 6 is to document. Keep on file the age verification, work permits, signed acknowledgments of the hour restriction, have the minor sign that, and training records for your manager. If the DOL shows up, and they will, they're going to ask for documentation. If you have it, you're in a much better position. If you don't, every gap is going to be a potential violation that they're going to want to investigate. Keep those records for at least 3 years after the minor's employment ends, and the entire setup, all 6 steps, that takes less than 2 hours and maybe a couple $100 once a year to review everything. If you compare that to $16,000 per violation, the math is not even close. Now, I know some of you are thinking, that's a lot. It's not. Let's talk about implementation. You don't need to build a whole system from scratch. Here's like the minimum viable version. It's May. This is coming out. We're in the hiring season. This week, look up the state's child labor laws or reach out at People Processes, right? Download our app. You can ask questions in there. Every state labor department has a page for this. It takes 20 minutes. Just check. And before your first hire, set up your work permit file. Get that permit before day 1, not after. And then before their first shift, run through the task list against the hazardous occupation order. Just make sure that they're not giving anything that is going to get on that hazardous occupation. And then turn on that minor scheduling controls in your timekeeping system, right? Make sure it's all set up that they can't go over 18 hours during a school week, etc. I have in our downloads, you go on, you sign up for our advisor.peopleprocesses.com. The downloadable for this is a quick reference card for managers for the federal, and it's got blanks for the state rules. Download it, fill in your state rules, have your managers read and sign it 10 minutes before they have a minor on staff. Total time investment, maybe 2 hours, basically zero in cost, and you've eliminated tens of thousands of dollars in fines. So, like I said, down and below, I put in that summer hire compliance checklist is what I called it. It's in the description below. It's got the state-by-state hour limits, the hazardous occupation list, work performance requirements by state, and a manager quick reference card you can print and hand to every supervisor. Download it, use it, share it with your managers. There's something else. If you're hiring summer help and you've never had a real HR audit, you might have more gaps than just child labor. I'll personally do your strategic audit, normally $1,000 to $4,000, depending on the size of your company, completely free for the first 10 companies that sign up. Here's how it works. You go to advisor.peopleprocesses.com. That's in the description. Sign up for a free account, navigate to audits, and select Strategic HR Audit. There's about 10 different audits, but the strategic one is where we look at all your steps. And on the checkout page, enter the code EP69 Audit, episode 69 Audit. That's Echo Papa 69 Audit, and it'll bring the price down to $0. Only works on the first 10 companies, all right? You need to have 10 or more employees, and you need to be in the United States. I don't know how to audit Indonesian company, all right? It's got to be a U.S.-based company, 10 or more employees. If you've got 8, I'm not going to stress too much, okay? But if you're a 2-man shop, this isn't the place to start there. The audit will be you have nothing set up and you need to set up everything. Okay. If you haven't watched episode 68 on the Strategic HR Audit, you should check that next. It's got it's one of the hiring domains we covered. 64 is on new hire reporting, and that applies to your teen hires report as well, so it may be useful. My name's Rhamy Alejeal. Summer hiring doesn't have to be stressful. Just do the 6 steps and you're covered. Don't HR alone. Go out there, have a great day, and get your work done. I'll see you soon, and thanks for checking us out.